If you want to play the elevator game, enter these numbers just this way. And if you do things just right, a ghost will show up to give you a fright. And if you want to escape with your life, just do one more thing right. You just don't look, you just don't look. You just don't look, you just don't look. You just don't look, you just don't look. You just don't look. Oh, you looked, and now you're fucked. Elevator Game is a Shudder original directed by Rebecca McKendry, who did Glorious, a Shudder original I encourage you guys to check out. Really good stuff, despite the fact it only takes place in one location. Glorious, quite good. And this was written by Travis Sepala, who did Captive, a movie that is currently on Tubi. It's a horror movie with Scout Taylor Compton. I will watch just about anything Scout Taylor Compton is in. You can watch Captive and see how you feel about it. Tubi is an ad-based streaming service, and now we go back to Shudder, because Shudder is something that you pay for, but has a great goddamn horror library, which is fitting because it's all horror movies. All horror, all the time, all subgenres, and all that. No, I'm not sponsored by either of those, just plugging because I love me some horror movies. So, as far as the rest of the credits go, David Ian McKendry, no association with Rebecca McKendry. Why would anybody think that? He provided additional dialogue, and you may be asking yourself, what is additional dialogue? Oh, stuff like, hey you, get off that, and why not? And that is a deep cut for MST3K fans. This is listed as based on actual events, because there is an online viral game, as the kids say. I don't really think they say it like that. They probably say it a lot more hip than I do, because I'm 42 years old, desperately trying to cling on to any of my youth, but nevertheless, the elevator game. You have people to get on an elevator in a building that has at least 10 floors, if not more, and you enter certain numbers in a particular sequence. 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5, and you go back to 1, as that R&B song said. I actually... Who the fuck? Was that Brian McKnight that did that song? I'm trying to genuinely remember who did that song. Back to 1, or Back at 1. Anyway, nevertheless, enough about old R&B songs. This is about the elevator game, and if you do that, and you don't look or don't speak, as No Doubt once said, because you know just what they're saying, and you know that the ghost is really going to hurt, the fifth floor woman will leer at you, stare at you, try to get you to look or speak to her, and if you don't, if you play the game right, you can see the red world or be in the red world, and you can end up back in the real world that Rob Thomas is still being hassled by, and you will be perfectly all right. Obviously, since this is a horror movie, people play the game and they end up dead. Or worse, they just... I don't really know if you can actually end up worse than dead. Maybe you could just end up being driven totally goddamn mad. I mean, that would actually be probably a fate worse than death. Nevertheless, yes, the elevator game. That's how you play it. That's one reason I don't get into elevators. That, and also the fact that crowded elevator goes slow, as Incubus once said. I'm going to stop with these song references and get back to elevator game. That features a young cast where, you know, it's centered around a couple particular people, you know, like a couple particular people tied to the elevator game. And then there's also this game, this like paranormal type deal where they play games. It's a show called Nightmare on Dare Street. You have various characters like Chris Russo, played by Alec Carlos, who's the boisterous host and everything. And this is all after a certain thing opens where a girl plays the elevator game, and let's just say things don't end particularly all that well. So you have Chris, you have Izzy Simpson, Madison, Mac Isaac. There's that's a mouthful of a name right there. She's kind of the techie one. You have Chloe Young, Verity Marks, and if there's one thing that got over in this movie with me, it was her energy. I thought she did a really good job here. It's nothing against the cast. I just thought that Verity Marks was a standout there, and I look forward to seeing her future in horror because she provides some good energy for this. She's kind of the research nerd, and then there's a couple other people. There's a guy named Maddie Davis, who has a name that would be very hard for me to pronounce. Look it up. And also their boss, Kevin. Imagine getting beat up by a guy named Kevin. Another MST3K reference. And also there's a character of Ryan, who kind of comes into the fold for Nightmare on Dare Street, and he suggests, hey, if you need a story idea, let's do the elevator game. And there's a particular reason for this. We find out that reason, even though it's pretty obvious from the very beginning what's going on. And then they play the game. Things get a little bit weird, and then we get a series of circus pants, as it were. I think that's how the saying goes. Where the crew basically has to survive being pursued by this ghost. The fifth floor woman. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the plot right there. I mean, I'm not going to say this movie is great. I will just put that qualifier right there. But this movie is not bad. I don't really think that the reviews that I've seen so far, I mean, I just checked them out before I started doing this one after I'd watched the movie. And I'm like, it wasn't that bad. Yes, there are better Shudder originals out there, but there are also far worse Shudder originals out there. This actually is more middle of the road. I thought the cast did a pretty good job. I thought the writing was pretty decent overall. A lot of cliches. You're going to get that in a lot of ghostly horror movies, or really any horror movies, as it were. It's hard to do something that isn't cliche, regardless of how much ingenuity you have as a writer, director, crew, cast, whatever. And sure, some of the characters make stupid decisions. Sure, some of the pacing's a little bit off, and it is a little atypical, but it ends up rising above most because of the cast, and because the writing actually is fairly decent. And good direction, because Glorious was a really good film that you guys should check out, and Rebecca McKendry once again showing how great of a director they can be. And there you are. So, I think they mix the comedy horror well. I think maybe it does fall apart a little bit in the third act. It is what it is, though. It's certainly not a bad movie. I encourage you guys to check it out. It is on Shudder. Shudder is a great streaming service once again, so I am going to get into spoilers. I do want to say, though, some good makeup effects and some decent ghostly effects. So there you go. That's your whole thing. And once again, Verity Marks stand out in this whole movie, in my opinion. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so in the very beginning, Becky with the good hair shows up. That's a goddamn song reference I didn't expect. Yeah, she ends up playing the elevator game, being the viral sensation on the information superhighway, holding her phone out like this. My phone's currently in front of me, or I'd be holding it like that, and then the video would look weird. And yeah, you don't look. I did like the excellent shots of the shaft. The elevator shaft, I run a clean show, how dare you. This is why you don't play with demons, because Becky ends up disappearing. Then we get the spooky show, Nightmare on Dare Street. And they didn't properly feature their sponsor, so now the sponsor's pissed. The sponsor is threatening to pull stuff if they don't feature the sponsor better. So now they got to play the elevator game. Ryan shows up. I'm just going to say right now, Ryan is Becky's sister, and he is looking for a way to find his sister. Obviously, that's something that you would want to do. Once again, already marked. Good. And I mean this as somebody that just loves horror. It's always nice when you see people that are in the, maybe in the start of their career, or just getting big roles, actually shining in movies like this. Madison, who plays Izzy, is fine as the tech blonde, but she doesn't get enough stuff to do. I do look forward to seeing what else she can do in future projects. And Megan Best, who played Becky in the very early opening, she did fine. I mean, I'd be panicked too if I played a game that I shouldn't be fucking playing. So, the office building is basically a ghost town. They trespass, and they play the game, and all that. I did like one dialogue exchange between Ryan and Chloe. Is it always like this, he asked. Oh, the looming specter of potential paranormal doom, accompanied by total financial collapse. Yeah, this is normal for us. Some good dialogue exchanges, actually, before things devolve into ridiculousness. I did note that the one thing about this movie is it's very Canadian. And I'm not knocking. There's a lot of great Canadian films, great Canadian actors, but just the accents were noticeable. Very noticeable. That's not a bad thing. It's just something I've noticed watching a lot of Canadian movies. Not nearly as noticeable as when I watch Dark Nature, but nevertheless. Don't look, or speak to her. Just, focus on, just don't make eye contact, bitch. I'm sorry. It's so terrible. It's so goddamn terrible. That's why you don't sleep with a ghost. That I don't speak from experience from. I don't. Why would you accuse me of that? So, maybe you should have, plan to not do a game like this because it ends up going really, really bad. Now, they only played the elevator game once, but it ends up following them the rest of the way. It turns out that Chris was a bit of a creep. Well, maybe not a creep. He just ghosted Becky. And apparently they're all supposed to be out of high school. And I don't know about the rest of the age of the actors, but when I checked to see what else Verity Marks had been in, apparently she's 19. So, hey, that's at least close to high school age. That's better than most horror movies. So that's some good casting there. Everybody else looked like they were probably like in their early 20s at the most. So, all right, pretty good casting. And then Chris ends up getting killed in a pretty hilarious way, in my opinion. I mean, it was a good way. He got hung up and then his neck twisted around and all that. That was some good stuff. The red lighting to, factor when the ghost is showing up. It kind of reminded me of Glorious, actually, with that lighting. And then it turns out that Izzy realizes, oh my God, we left a camera in the elevator after the security guard kicked us out. So let's go do that. And then let's go play the game again while Ryan is playing the game and trying to find Becky. But then there's a Spider Ghost Lento. That is a deep, deep cut and a twist on a wrestling name. Nobody expected that, least of all me. Yeah, play the game. Keep playing the game while Ryan's looking for the elevator to try and find his way back. Now, he finds his way back somehow, and that's never fully explained. And Chloe then finds out about more people that are missing. Everybody's not really talking to each other at this point because Chloe's upset at Ryan for not being honest. And that kind of makes sense. And the ghost can mess with their phones suddenly. There are a few things I think that maybe could have been fleshed out a little bit. But nevertheless, all that's left now because Izzy and Kevin got killed, actually in some pretty cool ways. The ghost hand burst out of Kevin's throat. That was nice. That was good stuff. Like that. And all that's left now is Maddie, who steals a bunch of salt from a restaurant because earlier in the movie he had done a salt circle for one particular show that they were doing. So Ryan, Chloe, and Maddie. Well, then the ghost is there. Just suddenly, boom, right there. Just like, hi, I'm here. And walks along and can't step through the salt circle. No, wait, they can. Lifts up Maddie, kills him. So yeah, so much for your salt circle, idiot. The character, not the actor. And now the idea is Ryan and Chloe have to play the game again. They have to figure out how to actually close the door. That was something else Maddie was discussing before he got destroyed. And yeah, the movie really kind of falls apart like a bit, like pretty much in the third act. And it's nothing against Ryan, it's nothing against performing. It's just the pacing of it. The pacing, really. But that being said, they go back to the building. The security guard that kicked him out before was there. Chloe maces him. And then they play the game, and Chloe ends up killed, and Ryan ends up, trapped in the red world looking for his sister, and that's it. Oh wait, there's a girl that's playing the game again, and now we're hinting at Elevator Game 2, Electric. We're gonna keep doing this Boogaloo. Okay, so is it great? No. Is it good? Yeah, I'd argue that there are points that it's good. It's typical. It's fine. It's breezy at 90 minutes. Some good performances despite the threadbare characters. So there you are. B. I'll give it a B. There you go. You done good, like my opinion fucking matters. Go check it out. Give it a shot. Shudder's got some good stuff as well. But watch this first. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.